Good evening and welcome to Parkland Pre-Engineering Middle School's 6th grade STAAR Information Night. My name is Mr. Ellsworth. I'm one of the assistant principals here at Parkland Middle School. We want to thank you for joining us here this evening so that we can provide some very important information on the upcoming STAAR exam for your son or daughter. We will be going over just some information about the exam itself, the safety procedures that we're going to have in place on our campus, and then some other logistical items to help make it a smooth day for everyone involved. I'd first like to introduce some key people that helped put this presentation together. The first is Dr. Ramos, who's going to be my co-host. We also have Ms. Pasan and Ms. Pichardo, who are going to be answering questions in the chat. They're some of our other assistant principals. And then, of course, Mr. Z, who is in the background helping us run the show. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Ramos, who can give you some information about the exam.
Yes, hi, good evening. So I'm just going to go over the STAAR dates really quick. So for math is Wednesday, May 19th. That's coming up. That's already next week. And then the week after, again, on Wednesday, May 26th, is the 6th grade reading test. Okay, thank you, Mr. Z. Okay, so the STAAR has not been canceled this year. Federal and state law, as well as TEA, will require that every school in Texas take the STAAR test. I know some people get a little confused and they use the term opt-in and opt-out, but in actuality, everyone is required to take the STAAR. But if you look at the third bullet, it says due to the pandemic, the COVID, for those students learning at home, TEA is permitting parents to refuse to send their children to test in person for safety reasons. So that is the reason that, if you choose not to bring your child, that is one reason that you can use. So logistical constraints prevent the state of Texas from administering the STAAR at home. It has to be done in person simply for validity and reliability reasons. We make sure all students put their cell phone away, that they're not getting any additional help at home. So it does have to be in person. Also, TEA has made a variety of adjustments to support schools and offering a safe environment. And what we do here at Parkland is we have our kids are really far apart when they're testing. We have dividers. They're all wearing masks. Everything is wiped down and cleaned before we administer the test. There's a bunch of hand sanitizer for students to use. So we have a lot of things in place. All right, thank you, Mr. Z. Okay, so the next slide, school systems who offer remote instruction are required to take steps in encouraging those students receiving remote instruction to participate in STAAR. And that includes, again, adjusting the environment for safety reasons and outreach to parents for those receiving remote instruction. So we are required to outreach to parents. And I know some of you are tired of filling out the surveys. You may get some phone calls. And, that it's just part of our requirement just to make sure and make sure that you have every opportunity to take the STAAR. So not participating in the STAAR assessment for 3 through 8 will not affect promotion or retention or even summer school for that matter. Summer schools is determined by students' absences. If they have a lot of absences, they will be required to come, and how well they are doing academically. So the SSI is waived, meaning for those of you that do have 8th grade, there will not be a retake for the test. So parents of students who have been receiving remote instruction choose to continue to keep their students at home learning remotely throughout the testing window. Neither the parent nor the teacher at school will basically know how they're doing if they don't take the STAAR. So the STAAR is a state test that everybody's taking, and we put things in place. Like I said, we take the cell phones away just so we know students aren't cheating. They're far apart. We have a bunch of things in place. And because of that, if we don't know, we don't have last year's data and we won't have this year's data, it's really hard for us to make instruction decisions or decisions about lesson planning just simply based on, data from 3 years back. So we at Parkland Middle School are offering students the opportunity to test again in a safe environment, and we're encouraging all of you to bring your children to participate. Thank you, Mr. Z. So as I mentioned before, we won't have cumulative data. The last state assessment, 2019, 2020, we didn't test. And then for 2020, 2021, if your child does not come in, that's 2 years of data that we will not have. So again, the data provides the campus with a place to begin just for learning and instruction. So students may lose out on elective opportunity next year in order to receive support for STAAR exams. So if a student fails a STAAR, or we don't have a score for that student, we don't know where they're at, they will be placed in something called accelerated instruction. What that looks like, we're still waiting for the academic department to reach out to us and let us know what that will look like. Because as I stated before, we want to best help your child, and in order to do that, we need to know where they're at. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ellsworth.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Ramos. Mr. Z, if you can go to the next slide. And by the way, parents, if you do have questions, feel free to go ahead and type them in the chat, and our assistant principals will answer them as best they can, and if not, we'll cover them at the end. As far as the safety procedures that we're going to be having in place, we will be screening the students as they come in, and the most important screening that happens is actually done at your house. If a student is feeling sick, they have a fever, or they have some new symptoms of something that they normally don't have, we ask that you keep them at home. Okay, we don't want anyone to come to campus, whether it's COVID related or not. If they feel sick, have them stay home. We'll figure out a way to get them to do a makeup, but we don't want them to come and get somebody else sick. But once they actually come to campus and they're dropped off, we're going to screen them again. We're going to do a temperature check, and then we're also going to ask them a couple of questions on whether or not they have any new symptoms or they've been around anyone who's been infected. The students will have dividers around their desk at all times. They're going to be socially distanced 6 feet apart, and they must wear their mask at all times as well. The hand sanitizer, like Dr. Ramos had mentioned, will be available for the students upon the arrival to campus. Then also in each room we'll have hand sanitizer for those that want it. Please bring your own mask. We don't allow gaiters just because they're not as high quality as the mask itself. We will provide breakfast and lunch for the students, and then also we do have snacks for them as well. For those of you that qualify for bus transportation, we will have transportation available for the bus routes that day, and we'll post that on our Facebook page as well, and then we'll probably send it out one more time for you all as we get near the testing, which with the pickup times and locations. And then that way, if they want to ride the bus to get to campus that day, they can do that. Okay, Mr. Z. On the day of the test, like I mentioned, the students are required to wear a mask while they're on district property. We also want them to wear their favorite superhero shirt. Our theme this year is to finish strong, and so we want to show our strength on these last two assessments that the state is giving us. So if they have a superhero shirt, we'd like them to wear it. If they we don't want any costumes like full dress up, but if they have a shirt, that's great. If they don't have a shirt, that's perfectly fine. They can come in a free dress where they, just a normal shirt. It doesn't have to be a school uniform shirt, and they may wear jeans, but they just can't have any holes in the jeans. Okay, we also don't want any slides or anything like that, just for safety reasons if they have to go up and down the stairs. So they can kind of come in free dress. We encourage the superhero just so that we can finish strong. The students should arrive by 8 a.m. If they're going to get dropped off, we want them to get dropped off in the front, and then we'll bring them in and start screening them right away. The students that are riding the bus, you'll be dropped off in the bus area, and we'll bring you in through the cafeteria, and we'll make sure that you guys stay 6 feet apart as we screen you guys. The test itself is going to take 4 hours, and so we're not going to allow any students to leave during that time. And the reason that is because when students get up out of a room to go leave, it distracts the other students who are still testing. So every student's going to stay the 4 hours. We want them to do their very best and try their very best on it. Once that 4 hours is up, they'll be eating lunch that will be provided by the campus. And then at that time, the virtual students will be given their cell phones back, and then they can call their parents to come and pick them up. It's been around 1:45, 2 o'clock that's been happening for the tests that we've been giving so far. And I'll go over the locations of where the parents are going to pick them up here in a little bit. When you do come, parents who are for the virtual students who are going to pick them up, you need to have a driver's license so that we can properly identify you that you're going to be that you're supposed to pick the student up. If for some reason you can't make it and you need someone else to pick them up, you need to call and arrange that with our attendance office. And you can actually do that even the day before the test, so that way we're not scrambling on the day of the test. So they can verify that it's you who's making that request, and we can write down the name of who's going to pick up the student at that time. Students who walk will not be allowed to walk home during the school day. Okay, students who walk will not be allowed to walk home during the school day. So if they're a walker, they live within close to the campus, we'll keep them here until 4 o'clock, and then we'll release them at 4 o'clock with the rest of the students who walk home. And that's for safety issues. Mr. Z, if you can go to the next slide. Like I mentioned, lunch will be provided. After the test, the face-to-face students who regularly come to campus will be going back to their remaining classes, which is usually 9th and 10th period class. The virtual remote students will be picked up. They can call home for that. The last names A through N for the virtual students are going to get picked up on Nova Way in the front of the campus by our small gym. Last names O through Z are going to get picked up on Minuteman in our bus drop-off area, and I'll show you a map of that here in a second. Like I mentioned, we need that. You need to have your ID so we can verify you. And then we're also asking that you put a paper on the dashboard, just like we did for supplies and some of the other events that we had on campus. We ask you put a paper on the dashboard on the passenger side with the student name and ID. And that's going to help us when it's time for dismissal, because one of our officers or staff members will be out there and will be able to very quickly look at the name and call out the name while we're checking your identity, so that it speeds up the whole process for everybody. So please have that paper ready to go, so that it'll make it better for everyone. The virtual and remote students who either walk home or ride the bus home, we will keep them in a hub setting in our small gym until 4 p.m. So they won't be able to, because they're virtual students, they're not going to be able to go class to class like the face-to-face students. But we'll keep them in a hub setting in our big gym, and then at dismissal time, they'll either walk home or we'll make sure they get on the bus to go home. Okay, Mr. Z, next one. This is a map of our campus, just so you can kind of see. Right here, like I mentioned, A through N, you're going to be coming in this front drop-off area. And then you'll be coming out this way. O through Z, you're going to be coming on Minuteman, and the best way is to come kind of from the loop area. You'll come this way. You'll actually come into our bus drop-off. We'll get your student out to you, and then you'll come out. When you come out off of Minuteman, we ask that you don't turn on to Nova Way, because it's going to be all the traffic from the A through N students. We ask that you keep coming down Minuteman, and then you can turn later on at one of the other side streets, okay? Mr. Z, next slide. Some important things that you need to bring with you. First is your Chromebook and your charger. Please make sure it's fully charged. We do have some places where they can plug in, but we don't have enough for every student all over the campus. So please charge it before you come. And also, you're going to bring it in your carrying case, and then you'll kind of we'll pick that up and put that away, just like with the phones and stuff. Leave all smartwatches at home. Do not bring them that day. You're not going to need them. We'll have time reminders that they'll put up. The teachers will put up, so you know how much time you have left. But they're not allowed to be used during the test, because you can get messages on them and things like that. Please bring a water bottle, and you might want to bring a sweatshirt or a sweater if you get cold, just in case some of the rooms might be a little colder than others. And then, like I said, we do have lunch and breakfast provided, but if you want to bring your own, that's perfectly fine. You can just leave it under your desk until it's time to eat. Okay, Mr. Z. If you do have any general questions regarding the STAAR and EOC exams, you can visit this bit.ly website that the district put out, which has some frequently asked questions about the test itself. And then if you have any specific questions, you're more than welcome to call us at these numbers, Mr. Z, if you want to. These are our phone numbers and extensions and emails. So if you want to go ahead and take a screenshot of that, so that way you can call us if you have any specific questions, we can help you out with that. And And then Mr. Z, I think questions and answers. I think the APs are doing a great job in answering that. Yes, it can be in free dress as long as it's nothing inappropriate. Students who are not taking the test will have asynchronous assignments that they'll need to be complete. Someone asked a question, if you have two children who are with different last names who need to get picked up, just let us know and we can make sure that they're in the same location, so that way it'll be easier for you. We don't want you to have to wait in two lines. For any students that have any accommodations, they will get their accommodations that they're supposed to have. And so we have the 4-hour testing part, and then anyone else that's a little bit different, they will provide those accommodations. Students can bring cell phones. The only thing is they must turn them in at the beginning of the test. Okay, so we're going to have a bag with their name on it, and we're going to ask for their cell phones to be turned in. And then at the end of the test, we'll give it back to the student. And that's extremely important. Please make sure you go over that with your students, that they turn over their cell phones. Because if they don't, if a student keeps their cell phone and they use it or we find it on them, it's going to invalidate their test, and there will be consequences from the district because it's a major test violation according to the state of Texas. And Dr. Ramos probably can answer that a little bit more.
Yes, it's a really huge deal, and some of our students, they might not think it's a big deal, even if they just have it in their pocket and they never pull it out or they never leave the room. Regardless, if they're caught with a cell phone on them and the teachers hasn't passed back their cell phone, that does qualify for voiding their test. So we do ask that they either leave them at home, or if they're remote, we do want them to bring them to call you. We will pick those up. And we will give them back right after the test. We're not going to keep them or anything like that. Once the test is over at around 1:30-ish, we pass back the cell phones, we give them lunch, and then around 2, when parents start lining up, that's when we start calling names.
Okay. I don't know if anyone has any other questions. Mr. Z, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. Remember, our goal is to finish strong. Okay, we're really super excited to see some of you. A lot of you, all we've seen is just your emojis and things that you put on your, to kind of for your face. So we're happy to see you guys come to campus. We want to make sure everybody stays safe and that we do a great job on this test like we know you're going to do. And so that way we can see where we need to go from here. And that's the most important thing. We want to get some information so that we can see how we can make sure you're ready for next year. Okay. As far as an ID, no, they don't need one. If they're a virtual student and they don't have their ID, that's fine. We'll verify their identity another way. If they are a face-to-face student who already has their ID, then they should bring theirs. Okay, I think that's most of the questions. Like I said, if you still have some more, please feel free, Mr. Z, if you can go back to our contact information one more time. Please feel free to either email us or give us a call. We'll be glad to answer any specific questions you have, so that way we can best help you and your students out. Okay. The virtual students can actually start getting picked up at 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock. They really don't need their backpacks, Ms. Salas. Really just their Chromebooks is all that they're going to need with their charger. We don't really have a lot of space for the backpacks, so I would prefer them not to bring them. Yes, if they need a school phone to make a call home, we can allow that. Yeah, the students should join their 9th and 10th period class afterwards. So the face-to-face students will be going actually to their 9th and 10th period physically going, and the virtual students will do it virtually, either in our hub or from home if they're at home at that point. If you could bring water bottles, that'll help out. Yes. No, we won't need any parents to come in. Actually, we won't be allowing any parents to come in just for safety reasons. We will have staff members all throughout the building, and we're going to go ahead and release the testing rooms. That's a great question that we didn't cover. We'll send out through their teachers which testing room they're going to be in. And so then we'll have staff members all throughout our building to help make sure that they get to the location they're supposed to get to. Yeah, we know it, and we know a lot of you have never been on the campus, and so like I mentioned, we'll have a lot of help. We have all of our counselors, our leadership team, admin, security officers, and then the teacher themselves are out in the hallways in the mornings. So we'll make sure that they will get them, and then yes, they absolutely will get restroom breaks whenever they need it. Thank you all. We really appreciate you guys joining us. We know it's a busy time of the year and you got a lot of things going on, so we really appreciate you spending the time with us. No, Ms. Gonzalez, we'll have the attendance office take care of any people that are late if they're running late to those last 2 periods. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Like I said, if you have any other questions, please feel free to call us or email us, and we'll be glad to answer them for you. But thank you, and you guys have a good night.